under the table. Get under the table. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Just started shaking and there was bottles falling. My daughter was crying.
I don't know what my family's going to be doing for a place to live now. And we're not the only family in this situation.
We were too worried that another one would come and actually damage us.
To be honest with you, I didn't know if we were going to get out or not. I hope to never go through something like that again.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for a special edition of Eyewitness News Investigates. I'm Emily Irwin. This 4th of July, one of the largest earthquakes to shake Southern California in 2 decades hit Kern County the hardest. Little did we know it was just the beginning to historical earthquake weekend, reminding us of Mother Nature's might. Frightening moments as parents and kids scream right when a 6.4 earthquake struck Ridgecrest last Thursday just after 10:30 in the morning. The Independence Day quake was shallow and felt from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. The Independence Day quake tore a highway in two, broke gas lines, and lit a house on fire. Ridgecrest declared a state of emergency as many surrounding communities felt continuous shaking throughout the day. Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Platt was one of our first reporters out in Ridgecrest on Independence Day.
Whether it was beer and wine on shelves or the nerves of locals, everything in Ridgecrest was shaking today.
I didn't expect this to happen on 4th of July. I didn't expect to wake up to this.
It was a frightful start to the holiday weekend for everyone here in Ridgecrest, a 6.4 earthquake shaking buildings and residents alike. How on edge are you now?
1 to 10, probably a 20.
In Paula Bowles' house, everything is on the floor to prevent further damage.
We've been told to expect a much bigger one at any time.
While many like Bowles are worried about their homes, employees at this assisted living facility are worried about their patients. The first quake knocked out power for 4 hours. They fear more shaking may be too much for some patients to handle.
And that's for people with dementia and Alzheimer's and other issues. So for them, it was terrifying.
In response to the quake, the Ridgecrest mayor issued a state of emergency because just like everyone else in town, she thinks the worst is yet to come.
Because of the 87, well now 88 aftershocks we've had, we don't know what else is going to happen. We want to be more prepared.
Much of the mess that remains is due to the aftershocks, which have rocked this community over and over again since the initial quake, and people who live here are just hoping that ends soon and there's no other earthquake on the near horizon. Here in Ridgecrest, Jeff Platt, back to you.
Get under the table. Get under the table. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
That was a bad one.
And unfortunately, another bigger earthquake was on the horizon for people in Ridgecrest. Just after 8:15 the next night, the earth started shaking again. But it wasn't one of the many smaller aftershocks. You can see video from inside this home, strong tremors and the lights flickering in what looks like a surreal scene. The magnitude 7.1 quake centered just a few miles outside Ridgecrest, the same area where that 6.4 quake struck on Independence morning. Some people said it felt like the ground was shaking for minutes. Our crews sped out to Ridgecrest once again and found people wandering the streets, too scared to go inside.
And it was just crazy. A 7.1 and stuff. I never expected here to have 7.1 in Ridgecrest, in a Death Valley like this and stuff, to be hitting this hard. And this is actually the first time I ever seen it like this. And this is crazy. I was feeling like I was going to either fall to the floor and stuff, or a building was going to collapse on me and stuff, because the way it was shaking and stuff, it was shaking so bad. I had no thought. It was just, got to get the people out.
Everything I just got out the shower and I just got out of getting dressed, and I was just in my room sitting down and I felt it started to shake again, and I thought it was just going to be a small aftershock, but it turned out that it started shaking really fast, and then I just ran out my room and we were just out there waiting, and then we all started crying because we were scared, and then my brother was still in his room and he was like, something's burning in her room, and then we all just got backed away from the house, and then it just all lit up.
Here is some of the first information Eyewitness News got after the 7.1 earthquake hit last Friday night. The USGS later said the earthquake Friday night was the actual earthquake, and the 6.4 on 4th of July was a foreshock. There were over 1,400 aftershocks in the days following the two quakes. 1,800 people in Ridgecrest were without power immediately after the 7.1. Patients were evacuated from Ridgecrest Hospital, and some of the biggest damage was at the China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station. That's the video you see here. Video began pouring into the newsroom last Friday night in the hours after the 7.1 quake hit. Because of the holiday weekend, many of our staff members were home or on vacation, but everyone felt the shake. Here's footage from our 5 p.m. producer, Mitzi Cardenas. She sent in from South Bakersfield. Her light was swinging during the earthquake. And this is our anchor, Rochelle Murcia's backyard. Her pool overflowed during the shaking. You can see the water splashing back and forth even after the earthquake was over. Our executive producer, Sabella Scalise, was outside a boba shop in Los Angeles and felt the shaking there as well. You can see the lights are swinging back and forth there.
We're making sure that nothing is going to come down in the studio here.
And it is going for quite a bit, everybody. It continues
this is a very strong
rattle
earthquake.
pretty strong here.
8:21 here on the air. We're experiencing very strong shaking.
Wow.
I think we need to get under the desk.
All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back after this. Wow.
You can see there the 7.1 on Friday also interrupted a newscast in LA. Camera, the set, and overhead lighting rattled, forcing the anchors to seek cover under their desk. No serious damage was reported in the Los Angeles area. Another place that felt the quake, the July 5th earthquake, Dodger Stadium. The earthquake hit during the 4th inning of the game. The Padres and Dodgers continued to play through the quake. The quake was also felt in Las Vegas during the NBA Summer League games. It hit during the 4th quarter of the Pelicans-Knicks game. The scoreboard was swaying, and that's when officials decided to stop the game. And back in Ridgecrest, our crews found families sleeping outside, too scared to go back into their homes. Emma Goss spoke to those families last Friday and into the early hours of Saturday morning. Aftershocks kept many people up throughout the night.
Friday night, Ridgecrest families were finally starting to relax after what they thought was the last of the aftershocks from Thursday's quake. But just after 8 o'clock,
I decided to take a bath, and I was in the bath and the water started moving. I got out. My oldest daughter ran under the table as soon as I got out of the tub because the whole house just started shaking and there was bottles falling.
the darkness of nightfall made the event even more of a nightmare.
Our house is tilted, and I'm not sure if it's safe.
This family and their 2 dogs came to the Red Cross shelter in the middle of the night. Their mobile home tilted so severely, their belongings went flying. Cora Bailey's family joined their neighbors in an outdoor campout.
We made that decision to go out to our minivan. We grabbed some cushions and some blankets, and we went out and set up the kids in the minivan.
We have places for people to shelter here, but many are choosing to just be with their neighbors, both in their sidewalks, in their driveways, and some of them are in the streets.
But throughout the night, fires burned in mobile home parks like this one.
I don't really know what else to do other than, try to go about our day as much as possible. It's, everything is unfortunate, but all I can really do is try to pick up and move on.
As Ridgecrest finds its footing amid hundreds of aftershocks, families are not looking to leave town. They're finding common ground.
And talking to people on social media, talking to you guys, it helps. We're a strong community, but we have to let people know that.
20 miles from Ridgecrest is the city of Trona. They have their own pieces to pick up from the earthquakes. Residents there were hit just as hard and saw major damages. Many of them were without running water and electricity right after the 7.1. Jeanette Quesada spent time in Trona on Saturday to check out the pulse of that shaken city.
So we went out the door and the ground started shaking, so we both fell. Trona is home to more than 2,000 residents and is located about 30 miles northeast of Ridgecrest. Adolfo Rivera and his wife have lived in this small town for 40 years. His home sits just about 7 miles from the epicenter of the 7.1 earthquake that left the community on edge Friday evening.
We couldn't get up.
A community shaken physically and emotionally.
See these pillars go down one by one. Boom, 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 boom.
His neighbor Klaus Funk recounting the terrifying experience.
That scared me.
Last night, Rivera and his wife set up cots outside their home.
We weren't going to sleep inside because they said another one was coming, so we didn't want to take a chance of it.
Funk says he's in awe of the power of Mother Nature.
That was a real ride.
But neither of them are planning on evacuating.
But this is home. This is home. It's hard to leave.
And I'm here now with Jeanette Quesada. She spent multiple days out in Ridgecrest and Trona. So I want to talk to you about what the whole feeling and the atmosphere was like in Trona.
Absolutely. Well, evidently, as you can see, many of the residents there very concerned for their own safety, very shaken, of course, just shocked, really.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them, they had never experienced an earthquake of this magnitude. Right. And it was just very interesting just seeing Trona is, as I mentioned in the package, it is about 7 miles from the epicenter. So this city really felt the magnitude of that quake. And obviously the community coming together and just trying to save their lives, trying to make sure that their neighbors are okay, but really, really shaken by this quake.
And I know it's only a 30-minute drive to Ridgecrest, and we focused a lot on Ridgecrest. How was some of the damage there different than what you saw in Ridgecrest?
Right. Well, many of the fences of the homes were completely crumbled. Also, we had my photographer, Jesus Vasquez, and we had the opportunity to visit one of the churches there, and one of the ceilings had completely caved in. You could also really see much of the ground, the cracks where the earthquake had kind of opened up the ground. And in Ridgecrest, I didn't really have the opportunity to see the ground openings or cracks on the ground as much as I did in Trona.
Right. Did you talk to anybody who felt like, I know that Trona is only about 2,000 people. Did you talk to anybody who felt like they wanted to leave Trona after this?
You know, it's very interesting. The community in Trona just really has a heart for that city. And many of them are just very optimistic and hopeful that, this is just a Mother Nature taking its turn, but they were very hopeful that they will be fine and they will be okay.
Well, Jeanette Quesada, I want to thank you for all your reporting and all the information out there. Jeanette Quesada. So coming up on Eyewitness News Investigates, we take a step inside some of the most damaged areas in Ridgecrest, which buildings are now almost unrecognizable. As people turn to recovery mode, a woman in Trona walks us through the remains of her childhood memories. A look at the pieces she has to pick up after 2 large earthquakes hit her parents' home. Do you have a story for one of our investigators? Just call our tip hotline at 869-2929. Again, that number is 869-2929. And you can also send an email to tipline@bakersfieldnow.com. More video of devastation started to come out of Ridgecrest as inspectors started going into more buildings. This used to be the ceiling of Ridgecrest Cinemas. Now the roof has collapsed onto the floor. Our crews weren't allowed inside. The theater video was taken by the general manager on Tuesday. And here's a look inside Ridgecrest Public Library, another building with heavy damage. You can see books thrown from shelves. The community has had so many volunteers to help with the cleanup, they actually directed them to other places in need. And when you walk down the streets of Ridgecrest, many neighborhoods look untouched. As our reporters continue to stay in the affected areas over the holiday weekend, more people let us inside their homes. Emma Goss met a family in Ridgecrest last Sunday who say it will be some time before they can feel like they can return to normal.
The ceiling fan actually it was moving so wildly that it flung it out all the way over there.
Justin and Elena Ennis returned home Sunday to find their house turned upside down.
We came back up here and this thing was down. All these books that I pushed out of the way were all over there.
During the 7.1 quake, bricks from their chimney rained down. Their ceiling fan plummeted, and the upstairs office shaken into a complete mess.
It's the toughest, I think, psychologically for us because we don't like being upstairs anymore.
Junie Garnanes lives at the house directly across from the Ennises.
It's been okay. I mean, the way they built this house in '83 is structurally sound.
After Thursday's quake, he removed all pictures from the walls. When the 7.1 hit, the damage wasn't too severe.
And when you first came in, what did it look like?
It was okay because there wasn't really that much. I mean, they had some more aftershocks and stuff like that.
Kern County's Fire Battalion Chief Sunday relieved no people or property suffered significant injury. Families now are counting their blessings, but not convinced the worst is over.
Physically, you're putting things back together, but mentally, you're like preparing for the next quake.
Yeah, I think we are. Both with the fact that we're attaching stuff, but you're right, mentally that's what we're doing. Psychologically, we have a lot of hard time putting a single glass back in the cupboard. I didn't empty the dishwasher for like a day and a half because the stuff's safe in there, and I was tired of losing half our dishes.
In Ridgecrest, Emma Goss, Eyewitness News.
And it will be a long road back to normal for people hit hardest by the Ridgecrest earthquakes. On Wednesday, people in Trona got their first break after water service was restored in some parts of the city. County officials held a town hall addressing many of the residents' concerns. It was a full house with a number of concerned residents waiting to learn what lies ahead for them on their journey to recovery.
The folks in West End, South Trona, Argus, and Trona, you guys have water today. I'm very happy to report that.
In Trona, 100 buildings were damaged and 12 red tagged, meaning they pose a risk for life inside. But this small town of less than 2,000 is a tight-knit community, and they say their main focus is getting things back to normal. While at the town hall meeting in Trona, Eyewitness News reporter Raina Harvey met a woman who told her the 7.1 earthquake took away some of her best childhood memories. Although she's getting assistance, mounting challenges are on the horizon. Raina spoke with her inside her home.
And all of a sudden, all you heard, I mean, this is crazy. It was just like this roar, like this freight train just, I mean, on top of you. And it's like,
Shemaine Jackson tells me she and her family were just catching their breath from the first quake.
I'm sitting here and I'm watching my front patio there, my walkway, and it is literally, this is no exaggeration, it was just like rolling like this.
When the 7.1 knocked them off their feet.
Like you can see right now, it's shifted on its foundation and it's come apart from the wall. It started right there collapsing, and of course, you know, the domino effect.
Every night since then, they've had to sleep outside on mattresses. Her parents' home deemed unsafe.
That's where my mom was trapped. Then you come in and you see the crack going all the way.
Every object in her parents' home is scattered along the floor. They uncover new cracks each day.
And then you see this was behind the dresser.
We met Shemaine at the town hall when she invited us to see her parents' home. She was with her family, getting a meal and fresh water.
We have water now. We have running water. It's not drinkable, but...
And just like many in the town of Trona who aren't sure what's next, Shemaine is brought to tears when she thinks about the childhood home she may have to say goodbye to.
I don't know if this house is going to be saved. I don't know if my parents are going to be back in it or not. These are my childhood memories and my kids' childhood memories, my niece and nephew's childhood memories. We've all grown up in this house.
Coming up on Eyewitness News Investigates, after the two earthquakes hit, some people in larger neighborhood cities are starting to panic. We investigate, is Bakersfield ready for a big one? Bakersfield was one of the closest metropolitan cities to the Ridgecrest earthquakes. People here had things in their homes falling off shelves, pools were overflowing, and hanging items were swinging. The shaking sent fear through a lot of people. In the coming days after the quakes, Red Cross issued reminders to make sure families had their earthquake kits ready. And things started to fly off the shelves at grocery stores. Costco stores around Bakersfield started to run out of water as people prepared their emergency supplies. The Costco on Rosedale Highway ran out of water just 12 hours after the 7.1 earthquake. The location in southwest Bakersfield also saw a shortage over the weekend. Officials remind families to have at least 3 days of food and water in their earthquake kits. And Walmart stores in Bakersfield also ran out of water. Residents had no choice but to go somewhere else.
So my reaction was where's the water? Because I need some water, because it's been the earthquakes and we had to be prepared for anything. We don't know, supposedly according was see the news, you guys, and today's gonna be later on. It's gonna be an earthquake like 8.1. So I need to be ready with food and water. That's what I can tell to everyone. I just grabbed me water for my son, but I got like 3 gallons of water. So I need more. I leaked like 2 or 3 cases of water. So I'm gonna go to another Walmart to see if I find out.
Officials say you should have at least 1 gallon of water per person in your household in case of an emergency. The 2 large Ridgecrest earthquakes hit so close to home, it had many people wondering, is Bakersfield ready for a big one? City officials say yes, they are ready. Mayor Karen Go said all of Bakersfield's first responders have a plan in place for every emergency situation.
We have an emergency operations plan. Our city practices on a regular basis. So we have people coming together to rehearse this very regularly.
Mayor Go stressed what's most important is that you at home have a plan for your family as well for any sort of emergency situation. Coming up, we speak to seismologists about the odds of another big quake coming to California in the near future. Eyewitness News Investigates. We'll be right back. And we're learning more about the fault line that shifted, creating the massive quakes. Jeff Platt spoke with seismologists who dug deep into what damages have been done beneath the surface.
The road was shifted to the left over here, so we called it a left lateral fault.
Since the trio of large earthquakes hit the Ridgecrest area, scientists like Ian Pierce descended on the desert to collect data.
We've been flying, looking at all the cracks and mapping out the cracks, measuring how much the earth slipped.
In some areas, the slippage is obvious. This is the center of the 6.4 earthquake, and you can see it's moved the road to the side a solid foot. But if you think that's a lot, Pierce tells me 5 miles down this road at the center of the 7.1, the road's moved up to 8 feet. In his aerial photos, you can see the shift of the pavement. From the ground, you see the displacement of train tracks. It's not one of those situations where one is underneath the other and it pops up. This literally just
slide it straight past.
Pierce tells me understanding these earthquakes will help anticipate future earthquakes because while they aren't uncommon in this region, this quake is unique.
We've lived such a short period of time. A lot of these faults only rupture every few thousand years, and we've only been here for 150 years, so we don't really know a lot of the time.
And many are questioning if another bigger earthquake will hit California again. The U.S. Geological Survey says aftershocks from the Ridgecrest quakes could last for up to a year. A 4.9 aftershock was felt Friday morning, a week after the 7.1. Some scientists say California's future with big quakes will start to shift.
I would think this is most likely that we're going to be re-entering a period of more like the 70s and 80s, where we had a magnitude 6 somewhere in Southern California every couple of years.
Moving forward, California is spending more than $16 million to install thousands of quake-detecting sensors so people can find a safe spot before the shaking begins. And that does it for our show tonight. Thanks for watching this special edition of Eyewitness News Investigates. For more of our journalism, tune into Eyewitness News on weekdays at 5, 6, 10, and 11. I'm Emily Irwin, and from all of us at our Bakersfield studios, have a great night.